Oh, hey guys. Now for the last couple of months, we've been observing what's been going on with MG in the Philippines. We knew they were going to be launching some pretty exciting models, and two of them right here. And we're going to give you a quick walk around of what you can expect from these two new EVs. Hey guys, Vince here from AutoIndustriya, and we are here at Bridgetown to take a look at the new MG Marvel R and the MG4 hatchback. Yes, both of these are pure electric vehicles, and it's going to be available here in the Philippine market. We'll tell you the price later on, but first, we wanted to tell you the story about how these two vehicles came about in the Philippine market. Now, for the longest time, MG has actually been quite successful in the Philippines. Let's say for the, not really longest time, but last couple of years, last 5 years, they made really significant headway here in the Philippine market. But now they've got a new distributor. Actually, not really a distributor, it's a subsidiary because now it's SAIC Motor Philippines, or SMP, that is bringing in these models over from, well, their parent company SAIC in Shanghai. So the MG brand, of course, is owned by SAIC. It did start out as a British brand, but when SAIC took it over, they just took it to a different new level when it comes to manufacturing, design, and everything else. And that we can see with these two new models. Now this one is the MG Marvel R. This is a 5-seat, 5-door crossover SUV that they're going to be offering in the Philippine market. Basically, it's kind of a compact SUV, maybe a little bit smaller than some of the others we're usually used to in our market, but boy, is it stylish. Look at what they did with the front end of the vehicle. When you actually start this up, this part lights up and it kind of gives it a nice welcoming ceremony overall. It's very, very sleek outside, especially with the way they did the lines, and the way they also did inside we'll show you in a bit. But the other one, this is the one we're really excited about because this is the MG4 hatchback. It's a 5-door hatchback, which is actually rear-wheel drive. Pretty cool. But first, look at the styling. That's something really unique with these vehicles, but they really went for a very sharp styling aesthetic for the vehicles, which is again very, very different. One thing that's rather unique though is when we show you the wheels, these actually have a full cap instead of having alloy wheels, which is very different. There's another variant of the MG4. It's over inside in the tent. And it's the higher grade variant. This is the lower grade model. But when we talk about the price, this one is around 1.4 million, and then the other one is around up to 1.7, which is very interesting for something of this size and this kind of style, and the fact that it's an EV. When we're talking about range of both vehicles, well, this one, it does about up to 402 kilometers on one full charge because it's got a 70 kilowatt battery underneath. This one, well, this being the entry grade version, the battery pack of this one is 51, while the higher grade version is about 64 when it comes to kilowatt hours. The maximum range from 350 on this model to around 435 for the high grade model. Right, enough talk. Let's try out the Marvel R first. So now we're aboard the MG Marvel R, so long as it's not DC, right? But what this vehicle is clearly trying to achieve, and even with the other one, they are both normal vehicles. Meaning like when I reviewed the BMW iX3, I noted that the vehicle was trying to be car first, then EV second. You know, like it's really an everyday car, but made more practical or more efficient, or, well, zero emissions with the EV technology. This one is kind of the same way. You know, you drive it around, it feels normal. Yes, it is very high-tech with this huge, I think it's a 20-inch screen. It's pretty huge. It dwarfs anything we've seen so far from, let's say, even the one on the Ford Rangers. This one is even bigger than that one, and it's canted that way too, freeing up quite a bit of space underneath. You've got a digital screen in here, right in front as well, but with a very conventional steering wheel, conventional feel in a lot of ways. It doesn't feel like the floor is very high up like you would normally feel in a lot of other EVs, particularly even the SUVs. Because the battery of this one, I think they went for quite a slim battery. So I think that's what they were going for with these vehicles, to make them feel as normal and as conventional as possible. And I always think that is a good thing. It's not alienating in any way. You can really see it here. But it's really when you start exploring what an EV can do that it does feel very different. Of course, instead of fueling up, you have to charge it up. But also in the way the vehicle actually feels when you put your foot down, because like right now, sorry about that, you just can't resist with a lot of EVs, but it just dumps the torque right away when you put your foot down. Sorry, Geloy, my videographer, he just kind of fell over. But that is something to be expected out of EVs, the kind of instant torque, instant acceleration that you just can't get even with the best engine that you can probably buy. I mean, unless you go for something, like a Formula One engine, and these are not Formula One cars, or a super high performance car, you won't get this kind of instant torque, instant acceleration kind of feeling. But more importantly, when you drive it around, that's where you can explore some of the efficiencies of the vehicle, because these vehicles are made to be energy efficient in every way possible. Because when you're driving it around, you're not really consuming that much when it comes to the power capacity you have stored in the battery. So long as you keep your foot tempered, you're being patient with traffic, that kind of thing, you should be able to extract quite a bit of the range. Now, when it comes to the range of this one, like I said earlier, this one is about 402 kilometers overall. But of course, in the city with traffic and all that, you're not really going to get that kind of range because you are going to be using AC and all that. But when you're, let's say, going downhill, you can recapture quite a bit of that energy, because this one does have regenerative braking, which is always a good thing. But what's great about it, like I said, it's a family car. It's something you can really use every day. And it's something that if they get everything else right, because right now SAIC Motor Philippines is setting up their operations, we should see quite a few of these vehicles on the road. Now, for the price, well, for that, let's go back to, well, not the warehouse, but to our filming site just over there beside the statue. So right now, we're aboard the MG4 hatchback. And first impressions, I actually like it quite a bit. Now, granted, we are not going to get any really great performance or be able to test the energy consumption of the vehicle to its fullest extent right now, because right now we have about 38% left in the battery, about 98 kilometers of range. But granted, most of that has been idling here, so people are filming the car, so we're not going to get the optimum figures out of this one right now. But what I can tell you is that it feels every bit as I expected it to be. Now, this vehicle comes with quite a reputation already ahead of it, because it's been winning awards over in the UK, and I can see why. It's quiet, as an EV should. The tires are also quiet. We're on actually pretty new concrete, so that's all well and good. We'll have to test it later on, let's say, EDSA, to be able to get a real feel for how this car actually drives. Suspension is quite all right. It's not overly sprung. It seems to be very well balanced. And that seems to be a recurring theme with the MG4, because they engineered the vehicle to have a 50-50 front to rear weight distribution right there. No bias either way, because they've got electronics in front, the battery underneath, which is typical of an EV, and the motor in the back. So yes, this is rear wheel drive after all. But driving it around now, it doesn't really matter that much that it's rear wheel drive. Only when you take it to, let's say, the upper limits of its handling will that really factor into the vehicle overall. So our time with the car is a bit on the limited side, but the interior, I can tell you, I actually like it. It's very straightforward. There's not much, there's no nonsense with it, which is something I really appreciate in cars like this. I mean, you do have a little screen here. It's a bit square-ish as your multi-info display, your drive display right here. It's got all the things right there, like I think it's got adaptive cruise control. I'll have to double check that. But it seems like it has radar and all that. I can see the display. It's sensing vehicles around me as I drive. It has speed, ready, your tire pressure monitor, which is very useful. By the way, this one does not have a spare tire. It has a tire repair kit. But personally, I think they could have fit a spare tire in the back. But still, all well and good. Here you have your basically infotainment central control unit for a lot of features of the vehicle. And this does have a lot of features, even though this is still kind of the lower grade version of the MG4. But it's got it all, and as you can see, it's got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto right there, which is something you don't normally expect in a lot of Chinese-made vehicles. And yes, this is a Chinese-made EV because MG is owned by SAIC. Whenever a new EV comes along, we're almost always prepared to be overwhelmed when it comes to the performance of the vehicle. These vehicles, they drop a lot of torque right away, and in the case of these two, they handle pretty well too. However, we're also normally overwhelmed with price, but not this time. You see, this Marvel R, it retails for around 2.5 to 2.7 million. They're not giving us the final price yet, just the price range. But for that price, it's actually quite interesting. But the one we all really have our eye on is the MG4, because starting at around 1.4 to around 1.7, that is very attractive for something very attractive. If you want to try out these vehicles for yourself, well, wait for the launch of them, or maybe by the time we come out with this, the launch has already happened and we can have the price somewhere over here or over here, wherever. But you let us know what you think of these vehicles, because I reckon it's actually very, very exciting. This is Vince of AutoIndustriya.com.